Peace be with you, everyone. Welcome to the channel. My name is Trevor. Very grateful to have you here, and very grateful to be back filming with you. I was feeling a bit under the weather this past week, so my uploading has been a little bit dry as of late, but got a lot of things to share with you this week in my weekly rotation video. First things first is that I wanted to bring some attention to a fragrance that I mentioned in my community tab recently, a line of new cheapies that has recently come out from the brand of Benetton. So Benetton is a fragrance brand that I have worn a handful of fragrances from, two of which that I'm fairly fond of. They're somewhat of a cheapy brand, and I actually wore one of their other fragrances as my fragrance of the day for a day this week. But this is a new line that they've released called Tribu, and I picked up the flagship fragrance from that line. They had three of them, one blue, one black, and then one Comme style fragrance, and I was really excited about these. They came in this rather nice packaging, which is a step up from the rest of their brand's packaging that usually just comes in cardboard boxes. This has a really nice sort of leather stitching and a pretty impressive sort of presentation here. However, this fragrance was a scrubber for me, so while I was excited for there to be a potential new cheapie out on the market, this one is really not my style. However, I'm gonna describe it a little bit, and as I wore it a few times on one hand during a few of the other days that I was wearing fragrances this week, as well as throughout the day when I was hanging out at the house and around the home. So first of all, presentation. The box was really great. However, the atomizer on this is plastic. So I think the entire bottle is plastic. I'm not sure. Yeah, no, it's a glass bottle, but the atomizer is plastic. So really cheap offering in that respect. And as far as the juice inside, it was a scrubber for me, and that's really more my taste, I feel. This kind of runs in line with the typical oud saffron scent profile, so this is kind of in the same vein as, let's say, Oud Touch by Frank Olivier, which is a much better fragrance, but also one that's not really my taste. And this differs from that in the sense that it's got a little bit of a caramelized tone to it. There's some dates that add a sweetness in here that differs from other offerings. It kind of runs in the same vein as well as, say, Xerjoff Oud minus the rose, but the dates are not that pronounced. There's not much of a fruity quality in here. It just gives it this caramelized sweetness. And if you're looking for something with performance, this is a beast. It took me 3 showers to get this off of my skin. So kind of a cheap synthetic oud with saffron. It gives you that typical Middle Eastern vibe. Really not something that I'm going to be recommending, so while my hopes were high for this new release, it's not going to be something that I'm looking into the rest of the line for. Maybe I'll wait and see if some other reviewers chime in and say whether or not the blue and black versions were worth picking up, but this one I'm writing off right away. So just wanted to share that with you in terms of something that I was testing out this week and bring it to the attention of the community. And so without further ado, I'm going to get right away into my scent of the day for Monday. So Monday, Givenchy Pi. It's December, and this is a perfect fragrance for the season. Alberto Morillas is the perfumer behind this one, and what you get here is a really nice marzipan style almond dessert sweetness with a little bit of a coniferous style freshness. I think there's some tarragon in the opening here, so you get this really invigorating style green aromatic vibe over the top of a very sensual sweet and vanilla tone, and it easily could be a unisex fragrance. I know a lot of women that enjoy this one. Really one of my favorites for the time of the year, especially at the price. You can usually find at least testers of this 100 mLs for around 40 bucks. This is a 50 ml bottle. I think the 100 mLs get a little bit too tall, and I'm just a fan of the 50 ml size of this bottle. However, it is definitely something I would recommend checking out. Probably going to be showing up in a few lists of mine throughout the course of this December holiday season. But while the Givenchy Gentleman line is definitely one of Givenchy's more well-known offerings, this one is definitely worth checking out, especially this time of the year as well. That's Givenchy's Pi for Monday. Okay, for Tuesday, another one of my favorites that I haven't really reached for since the last cold season. This is Dior Fahrenheit Le Parfum. And the vibe this really gives me is kind of like, think of a licorice flavored cough syrup poured into a spoonful of sugar. Kind of like when you're a kid and your parents are trying to get you to take medicine, they'd put it in a spoonful of sugar. You get this heavy dose of vanilla, soft sweetness over the top of that almost industrial style tone that Fahrenheit is known for, with a sweet leather suede kind of textural feel going on beneath it. Now don't be put off by the cough syrup description. It has like a syrupy vibe, but it's not in a synthetic way or particularly medicinal. It's just very rich, and that there's a licorice note in here that makes it kind of a unique sweet composition that's different from your conventional vanilla. And even though there's vanilla in here holding it together, the licorice brings a unique note to the composition, and there's a violet leaf as well that's more of a dominant player here that offers up a very nice ozonic tone that I think harmonizes very well with the cold, wet kind of weather, which is really what we were enduring here for the majority of the week where I'm at. Very cloudy, overcast, rainy. There was a few days where the sun did pop out for periods of the day, but for the most part, dreary, cold, overcast, rainy, and around the 30 to 40 degree Fahrenheit mark. So this was a more than welcome companion for that type of environment here in December. Okay, so Wednesday, this one has been getting a lot of hype in the community as of late. I'm still on the fence about it. It's a little bit soft, and the projection isn't really all there for me, and the scent profile is pleasant, but I'm not sure interesting enough for me to really want to fall in love with yet. I've only worn it about 3 or 4 times though, so I'm going to give it some more chances because it is from a brand that I generally enjoy very much. This is Tom Ford's Noir Extreme Parfum. So if you're familiar with the Noir Extreme line, it's built around a kulfi note, which is an Indian ice cream style dessert. This one has a little bit more of an animalic quality to it. It's very subtle, but there is kind of a little bit of a funk that comes out of this, which I do enjoy that nuance. But again, the Parfum concentration makes this sit a little bit close to my skin, and I could have been going nose blind to it, but for the most part I wasn't really picking up much in terms of sillage and wafts around me when I was wearing it out throughout the weeks, or throughout the day on Wednesday, this was my scent of the day then. Generally on Wednesday I go into work at night, so this was my companion for the evening that night. No compliments or recognition of the fragrance, again, I think because it was sitting a little bit close to the skin. And this is rather expensive, which is another dock against the fragrance in general in terms of whether or not I'm intending on recommending it throughout this winter season, despite it being kind of a hype beast. So let me know what your thoughts are of this one in the comment section down below, if you've had a chance to rock it or not, and whether or not I am missing something here. So that was my fragrance of the day for Wednesday, Tom Ford Noir Extreme Parfum. Okay, so Thursday, this fragrance has been growing on me extensively. It's becoming one of my favorite wintertime wears. It's just an easy-going, dumb reach style fragrance, at least for my taste. It runs in the vein of a Fougere. It's got a very earthy tobacco note in here, which makes it very nice and cozy and warm for the cold season. There's a certain musky quality in here that gives a fluffy tone that reminds me of snow. And obviously a beautiful lavender that kind of hangs out more towards the opening, as well as a geranium note that brings the real Fougere quality to this. But it really kind of dries down into an earthy tobacco fragrance, and that is Fougere Nobile from Nobile 1942. Shout out to Joel the Nose, put me on to this fragrance, and like I said, it's just a very easy-going cold weather Fougere. Tonka bean, geranium, lavender, tobacco is what this has to offer, and it just, my vision of this fragrance is that it's kind of the working man's Fougere, a blue-collar man's Fougere, salt-of-the-earth Fougere. Just because it has a certain quality to it, that earthy that earthiness brings it down out of being somewhat overly classy, as most Fougeres are. Just like I said, very easy to wear, dumb reach fragrance for me in the cold weather, and I'm planning on wearing this quite a bit more throughout the winter season. So definitely recommend checking this one out. And it's, despite being a niche fragrance, you can usually find this. I think I picked mine up for around the $70 mark from FragranceNet. So a really great entry-level Fougere in general if you're interested in that barbershop style fragrance. So definitely one of my favorite wears this week, Thursday, Fougere Nobile 1942. Okay, Friday I like to wear niche fragrances, and this one is somewhat similar to the Fougere Nobile. This one has a beautiful lavender, a very nice rich tobacco, but leans a little bit more sweet and gourmand than it does Fougere or barbershop. This is Xerjoff Naxos, and while I'm not the biggest fan of the house of Xerjoff, most of the fragrances I've tried from them they have this certain doughy textural feel, and that's a little bit present here, but the aromatic side from the lavender in here is so well done and such a high quality of lavender that this one is slowly becoming one of my favorite wares for the winter time, especially for the month of December. I think this is a perfect companion or complement to the month. That transitional period between the fall and the winter time, I think this is perfect for. And it's very classy and mass appealing as well. I have gotten a compliment on this one, and I just think if you are going to check out the House of Xerjoff, this is a great entry level point from the house, as well as something like 40 Knots. I think those are the two that I kind of enjoy more than some of the other ones that I've sampled or tried out. But yeah, Xerjoff Naxos, don't need to spend much time going over this one as it's somewhat already a darling in the FragCom. So that was my Friday fragrance of the day, Xerjoff Naxos. Okay, so Saturday I actually wore two fragrances, one in the morning. I did a little bit of some running around, a few errands, and this was my fragrance of the day for the morning. This is Comme des Garcons Black, and this is something that I've really grown to love very much so. It's definitely in my wheelhouse, I would say. This is somewhat industrial. You definitely get like a black tire vibe, like almost if you've been spinning your tires for a burnout either in a driveway or a garage. There is that industrial rubber composition going on in here, from a combination of, I think, maybe leather and birch. Also some black pepper in the opening. This is also a fragrance similar to Dior Homme Parfum that features the fragrance note of licorice, which is something that I really gravitate towards in this cooler, darker period of the year. But this is definitely a hidden gem, something I would definitely recommend sampling first because it is a little bit of a unique composition, but there's that black licorice that gives this little bit of sweetness in here that kind of rounds out that industrial rubber tire feel. But yeah, this I think is a really underrated, high quality, good fragrance from the designer realm that nobody really talks about. I got mine from Lucky Sense. You can usually find this at right around like 100 even, I want to say, especially if you can pull up like a discount code from for that website. But one I'm really looking forward to wearing more so this winter, and something that I think is going to be great for, you know, like January is probably when I'm really going to be reaching for this one, because it does have a little bit of like a warmth to it from that kind of burning tire sensation going on, but like again, the licorice sweetens it up in a way that is balancing the composition. Just really something I'm a fan of. And then the fragrance I wore at night on Saturday, I come to find out it was probably inspired by this fragrance. Didn't know that until I picked this one up, but this is Colors Man Black from Benetton. Again, this is from the house, that Tribu Man, the fragrance I introduced at the beginning of the video from. This one I actually do enjoy quite a bit and is a lot more mass appealing and you know, easier on the people around you and compliment pulling than this fragrance, but they do share a lot in terms of scent profile. This one sort of introduces a really nice aromatic lavender in place of the black licorice here, but they both have a nice peppery nuance, both black pepper in these, and this one has a synthetic oud that kind of replicates the rubbery feel that is going on in here. And this one also brings a little bit of a nutmeg peppery quality that this one's lacking, that provides a bit of a festive nuance to this, as well as a bit more sweetness from an amped up vanilla. So this is why this one's a lot more mass appealing, pretty compliment pulling. You can see the juice level. I've actually burned through quite a bit of this. This is a go-to for me in terms of holiday events and meeting up with family, just because it's an easy wear, and you know, people, the general public, tend to gravitate towards it because it is kind of simple. And generally I feel like cheap fragrances are a lot more mass appealing than more niche and artistic designers and things like that. So but yeah, I wore this one during the evening after me and my daughter went out to the restaurant to visit my wife, and this was just a very enjoyable, nice, pleasant, soft, sweet sillage enveloping me throughout the day, throughout the evening on Saturday. So that was Colors Man Black from Benetton. $20 or 19 and some change on FragranceNet right now. Definitely worth checking that one out. I think you can get it on Amazon for around the same price. Okay, and Sunday. Sunday was another day I was doing a little bit of running around, doing some laundry, stopped out at a few grocery stores trying to pick up a few items. Didn't end up finding them, just ended up buying some stuff on Amazon by the time I got home, but was out and about and reached for this fragrance that I haven't grabbed since, I believe, last winter, but really enjoyed wearing it. This is Prada L'Homme Intense. So I believe this one has been removed from the US market. They briefly put it back up on Prada Beauty USA, but they've since taken it off that website. I still think you can find this. Don't quote me on it, but I think it's still available in the European market. Prices have gone up on this, but you can still find it at like Joma Shop and places for like $120, $130, I want to say. Hard to say whether it's worth that price, since you can get more niche stuff for that range, but I personally love this as an iris fragrance. I think it's definitely one of my go-tos for the winter time. It's got a little bit more of a resinous quality going on, like some amber and patchouli, maybe a little bit of leather that kind of comes off a little bit, at least to my nose, almost a fruity nuance of leather in here with the beautiful Prada Soapy Iris. Stunning juice, one of my favorites in the designer realm, point blank period, and probably in my top 3 in terms of enjoyable wearing experiences throughout the week here, right alongside of Fougere Nobile and Dior Homme Parfum, or sorry, Dior Fahrenheit Le Parfum. So yeah, this was my scent of the day for Sunday. Perfect way to end off the week, and really glad to be sharing my fragrance experience with you all again. It's been a little bit, like I said, feeling under the weather this past week, but I'm energized again, back and passionate to be sharing my fragrance journey with you all. Let me know what your fragrance rotation was in the comment section down below. I've been looking forward to hearing it all week, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.